Joining me now is Hal Elrod, who's featured in the story Early Riser on page 50 of Friday Forward. Hal's the author of The Miracle Morning, where he created and shared a morning routine that is practiced by over 500,000 people worldwide. He's also one of the highest ranked keynote speakers in America and hosted the highly acclaimed Achieve Your Goals podcast. Thank you for joining us, Hal.
Robert, always a pleasure, man.
All right, so we know that your Savers routine is obviously the bedrock of your life, but I'm curious, how did you spend your mornings before the routine?
Before the routine, it was wake up, hit the snooze button a few times, and then go straight into my office and just start, either into work or maybe checking social media. But I think it was like the average person's morning routine, where you kind of wake up and you dive into some sort of distraction, whatever it may be.
So there was no repetition to it at all, like totally different every day.
Totally different. No consistent personal development, no consistent reading. I was very, I owned a lot of books, didn't read a lot of books kind of thing.
And you get up, you said you set your alarm and hit snooze. Was that at the same time every day or just whenever you needed to be up?
Yeah, no, I think I had the snooze button. I think I was up at 6 a.m. was the alarm set repetitively. And then I would just snooze until I felt like, I had to get up.
So you talk a lot about your personal savers routine. I'm curious, what does it look like today? And are there any changes or expansions you've actually made to it since the book came out or over time? Or is it like the same thing you've been doing the whole time?
I change it up a lot. And that's one thing I love about the savers is that it's completely customizable, scalable, adjustable, right? And
Yeah.
so so a few things. Number one, I don't set an alarm anymore, which is unique, right? Once I got cancer, I decided that I should let my body, number one priority is I got to stay alive for my kids kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so it was like, let's let my body sleep as long as it needs to and kind of see where it lands. And 7 hours is typically what my body will sleep for. And I usually in bed by 10:30 and my body wakes me up either sometime between 4:30 and 5:30, but usually it's right around 5:30. So 7 hours seems to be the sweet spot. And I encourage people to do that now, which I never even thought of before. I say, look, they go, how many hours of sleep do I need, Hal? I go, you got to figure that out. I said, just take weekends and don't set your alarm on the weekends and see when your body wakes you up and then practice on the weekends. Once you get confident that you can wake up consistently at that time without an alarm, then you can go without setting it during the week. And then as far as the savers go, they're very loose for me now. My whole life is a lot less like rigid, I would say. Now I'm okay to just take a day off and be with family. And, I was a workaholic before I had cancer for sure. But in terms of the savers, I kind of wake up and intuitively go with the ones I feel like. And, meditation and reading and exercise are the main three that I tend to do every day. And then visualization, journaling. Actually, I guess I do affirmations every day. So visualization and journaling are the two that I kind of do as needed, which is probably 3 to 4 days, about half the week.
And is there any order or do you mix up the order?
I kind of mix it up. I tend to try to do meditation and then reading and then exercise. Exercise is almost always last because my exercise routine right now, in the past, it's been running, it's been yoga. Right now, it's biking. And when I say biking, that sounds like I'm doing hardcore mountain biking. I just cruise around my neighborhood for 10 minutes, looking at nature, breathing in fresh air, just really feeling grateful. And that's really key. The nature part of the exercise is as important to me as the exercise, just being outside. And so I always do that once the sun rises, which is usually right around 7 a.m. And so I tend to do meditation and then into reading. But some mornings I wake up and I just don't feel like meditating. So I just open up a book and I just start reading, So it just kind of depends. Again, just kind of going with the flow and intuitively seeing what I feel like. But I do think it's important to touch on the structure of the savers. If I wouldn't have followed that to a T for really quite a few years, I don't think I would have the freedom that I have now to play with it. I think that if you start without that structure, I think you really miss out on a lot of the benefit. And, I encourage people when they start their Miracle Morning 30-day challenge, follow the savers to a T for 30 days. and then play with it. And maybe
then you earn the right to
earn the right for that flexibility.
I always had a question on this, on exercise. Is that like a sample of exercise, or is that your full workout for the day, or whatever you do? Do you do something else later? Or people who like to work out maybe in the afternoon or otherwise, do you recommend they just do something early on?
Something in the morning, and that doesn't have to be your full workout. I do weights later in the day.
Okay.
But for and when I teach the savers, I go, look, exercise is the E in savers, right? Yeah. I say that doesn't mean that you have to do your full and only workout in the morning. Like if you go to the gym, for example, that you have to all of a sudden do that first thing in the morning. It's the idea that when you exercise, the benefits, in fact, Robin Sharma said this in the Miracle Morning documentary, he said the benefits last up to 13 hours afterwards, right? So when you exercise first thing in the morning, you get blood and oxygen to your brain. You think clearer, you have more discipline, you have better decision-making, right? You have more energy that generates and lasts throughout the day. So to exercise in the morning for just at least 5 or 10 minutes minimum, right? Just could be some jumping jacks. For me, it's the bike ride. It doesn't feel like effort. It's just fun, right?
Just gets
so
the blood pumping.
It's crucial to do a little bit in the morning. What'd you say?
So it gets the blood pumping.
That's right.
And I'm sure many people have reflexively told you there's no way this routine will work for them. What are the most common reasons people push back against the Savers routine, and how do you respond to those most common objections?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's become a word of mouth phenomenon kind of thing, right? Yeah. Like when I was in the hospital fighting cancer for a year, the Miracle Morning sold more copies than ever before. And I wasn't no one was promoting it except for the people that were doing it. It was really impacting their life. And then they're like, dude, you got to read this. You got to do this. You got to try this. So it's almost like I don't have to do much convincing because friends are convincing each other and family members kind of thing. But the biggest objection in terms of the I'm not a morning person objection, right? That's the biggest, I think. And that was my biggest fear when I wrote the book. I kept going, like banging my head against the wall going, how am I going to convince someone that for their entire life has adhered to the belief, I'm not a morning person, I don't like waking up early, how am I going to convince them to get over that? And I really struggled with that writing the book. And I was asked a question a couple of years ago. Somebody interviewed me and they said, Hal, I'm really curious, what percentage of these Miracle Morning practitioners, which is now over 1 million, I think. I mean, the book sold 2.5 million copies. They said, what percentage of them were already morning people? They had no problem waking up early. It's just that they were checking email or their phone or Facebook. So now they're going, okay, you convinced me that instead of doing that, I'm going to do the savers, right? Yeah. They said, but then what percentage were like hardcore, I'm not a morning person, never been one, tried, failed, don't want to be, right? And I had no idea. And so we surveyed our community, which at that time was probably right over 100,000. And I really didn't know the answer. And I was pleasantly surprised that 72% of Miracle Morning practitioners said they had never in their life been a morning person before they read the book. And I think that part of it is in the book, there's an entire chapter it's a pretty short chapter, but I address like, okay, if you've never been a morning person, here's how you beat the snooze button, right? And there's some psychological strategies in there. And there's also some logistical ones like moving your alarm clock all the way across the room. So you have to get out of bed, turn it off. And when you do that, you're 10 times more awake than if you're reaching over to your bedside table, hitting the snooze button.
Right. No, so, also last question for you, in terms of thinking about leaders and companies, like what are things that leaders can do in organizations to just encourage better morning routines among their employees?
I mean, I think it's leading by example first and foremost. Almost every
do as I say, not as I do. Doesn't work that well.
Yeah, I don't think not as much, right? I think enthusiasm is contagious. The reason Miracle Morning I was able to spread it when I was promoting it early on is I genuinely it changed my life, right? It wasn't a book idea. It was a thing I did in my life. It changed my life. It started changing other people's lives, and then I was enthusiastic. And every speech that I've given for the last, how many years since the book? 8 years since the book came out, is a leader who read the book, started practicing it, changed their life, and then they're like, you have to come teach this to our people. And at the end of every speech, I invite people to just do a 30-day Miracle Morning challenge. And it's extremely effective. I have leaders email me later like, hey, we're doing it as a team. We set up a little Facebook group, on and on. And so without needing me to come give a speech to your group to encourage them to do that, you just get, hey guys, I did this Miracle Morning thing. Everybody, we're going to do a 30-day, we're going to do a book challenge, right? It could be a book of the month club, whatever. And I think you should, by the way, as a leader, when I used to coach leaders, I would always say, you should have a book of the month club. You should have personal development as one of the cornerstones of your company or your organizational culture, right?
Yeah.
And you guys should be growing together every single month. And so I think it's a great first book because it sets the tone. Now they've got time to do their reading for all the future books. But I think doing that, having a book of the month club, doing a 30-day challenge with your people after you've done it yourself, and you can come back and go, here's how my life changed in 30 days of doing the Miracle Morning. We're going to read the book together, and then we're going to do the 30-day challenge together. And I think that's the best strategy to go about it.
All right, Hal. Well, I'm a big fan of the Miracle Morning. Everyone, page 50, story on early riser. You can learn more about Hal and Savers, or you can check out Miracle Morning. You can find it online. He's built a massive community. So, Hal, thanks for joining us at the global launch of Friday Forward.
Congratulations on the book, brother. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.